So I've talked about, the issues that people may have with sleep, falling asleep, which we call early insomnia, staying asleep, middle insomnia, or waking up too early in the morning, too soon. That's late insomnia. So what do people often do? Well, what do we know about different substances? We know that alcohol may help you fall asleep or may put you to sleep, but it's not really the same as real sleep. And it interrupts REM sleep, which in turn is a negative for our brains. So it's not quite the same as sleep, even though it may make you kind of zonk out, and probably primarily it helps you not feel anxious until maybe later when it does make you feel anxious, but that's a whole other thing. Also, there are herbal things that people take. By and large, herbal remedies are not problematic. The effectiveness varies from person to person. Research is a lot of times it's hard for them to pin down whether, say, magnesium is helpful or zinc or chamomile. I mean, sometimes it's hard to prove what works, but if it works for you, you know it. And so I find that can be perfectly healthy. Melatonin, I wouldn't say it's an herb, it's a supplement to something that's already made in our brains that is part of that circadian rhythm. When you have more melatonin, it tells your body go to sleep. And supplementing with melatonin can work. It doesn't, what's interesting is that it doesn't change the anxiety piece. So it may help your body be more sleepy, but you still end up needing to work on the anxiety piece if that's what's going on. And I think for that reason, some people think melatonin is great and it works so well for them. And then other people say, it didn't do much for me. And I think that often is because either there's some, significant arousal going on in terms of anxiety, or there is something else going on in terms of, some other disorder. And there are a lot of them. They're not most common, but there are. And, we could have a separate discussion about that another time. Cannabis, Colorado, right? So lots of people have cannabis. I try to go with the research. I'm not here to judge. So I was kind of curious, and what I see and what scientists have found is that probably more than anything else, marijuana, weed, cannabis helps with the anxiety. It helps people relax and therefore be able to fall asleep. As to whether it makes you sleepy, it's kind of debatable. It can, but it doesn't always. And what's curious to me is that the active part of weed or cannabis that is associated with the high, so to speak, is the THC. And that pretty consistently is relaxing and maybe helps people fall asleep. The other part, CBD, cannabidiol, is definitely seems to be helpful for anxiety, but it's possible that it doesn't help people be more sleepy. And I say possible because there's not a lot of research about it, but I just found that curious because generally I think CBD is really great. It doesn't, have the high associated with it. It's a lot of CBD products are sold over the counter. They don't have to be sold in a dispensary. Really, the biggest complication with cannabis is that if you have been exposed to a lot of it, smoking or using edibles, it can be difficult to sleep if you decrease or stop having the cannabis in your system. And so while you're using it, maybe it can be a positive, but if you have job issues where you can't, where you're tested for cannabis, you can't have that in your system. or if there are times when maybe you're traveling, you're going to a place where recreational cannabis or even medical cannabis is not permitted, then you can be set up for a really difficult time with sleeping without it. Other things that people will often use, over-the-counter sleep aids can be helpful, but they have to be used short-term because, especially things like Benadryl, because they cause some cognitive problems, some brain issues if you use them over a long period of time. So just for short periods of time. Again, I would say, we want to look at ways to decrease anxiety. So then I will touch a little bit on sleep medication. The medicines that have the least risk, kind of least chance of problems and seem to be very, effective are medicines that basically stimulate, block histamine receptors. So we all know of antihistamines like Benadryl. And so histamine makes you stay awake. And when you block that antihistamine, then you're going to be more sleepy. And so there are medicines that we use, like trazodone or doxepin or hydroxyzine. People who I get to see probably are familiar with some of these. And those are the ones that seem to be the most safe. The hypnotic medicines, the ones that kind of make you sleepy, the benzodiazepines, like Klonopin and Ativan and Valium and Xanax. The issue with those, I would say, is that your body can get used to them. And similar to cannabis, when you stop having them, it makes it really hard to sleep. And to me, it also, I think of that kind of like how, if the light is on your room and it's making it hard for you to sleep, you want to go turn it off, right? Well, if you can't access the light switch, if that control is outside of you, if you can't, do anything, then it puts you in a vulnerable position, right? And that's the way I think of those benzodiazepines, is that if that's the thing that helps you sleep and that, helps you feel assured that you will sleep, then it also kind of can make you feel less in control, which itself can feed back into anxiety. There we go, back to the anxiety thing. So it's a challenge.